Today, I'm still continuing on Mark's Gospel. Okay, so I'm going to stick to Mark's Gospel. Uh, for today's session, I'm going to concentrate on Mark chapter 5, verse 21 to 43. Okay, it's a pretty substantial portion, I will read it. Okay. When Jesus had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him. While he was by the sea, one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and kept begging him, "My little daughter is at death's door. Come and lay your hands on her so she can get well and live." So Jesus went with him, and a large crowd was following and pressing against him. A woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years had endured much under many doctors. She had spent everything she had and was not helped at all. On the contrary, she became worse. Having heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his robe. For she said, uh, She came behind the crowd and touched his robe. For she said, "If I can just touch his robes, I will be made well." Instantly, her flow of blood ceased, and she sensed in her body that she was cured of all her afflictions. At once, Jesus realized in himself that a power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my robes?" His disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing against you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" So he was looking around to see who had done this. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came with fear and trembling, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. "Daughter," he said to her, "your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be free of your afflictions." While he was still speaking, people came from the synagogue leader's house and said, "Your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher anymore?" But when Jesus overheard what was said, he told the synagogue leader, "Don't be afraid, only believe." He did not let anyone accompany him except Peter, James, and John, James's brother. They came to the leader's house, and he saw the commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, "Why are you making a commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but asleep." They started laughing at him, but he put them all outside. He took the child's father, mother, and those who were with him, and entered the place where the child was. Then he took the child by her hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which translated, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately the girl got up and began to walk. She was 12 years old. At this, they were utterly astounded. Then he gave them strict orders that no one should know about this, and said that she should be given something to eat. This is the portion that we are going to look at. And I took the time to read this because I want you to understand what's happening there. I just don't want to run through. At least know the story, what's happening. To give a context of what's happening, why Jesus was, it says Jesus came to this side. So before this, Jesus was at a place called Gerasenes. That's where he has, he kicks the devils behind in a very big way there. He heals a man who had many spirits. The spirit called themselves the Legion. And Jesus does that ministry, and he's coming. And at this place, we meet somebody called Jairus. Okay? Jairus is my focal point today. Okay? Just like a movie review or a book review, we are going to look at individual people. And if possible, I'll linger around this portion for some days. But today it's Jairus. And if you want to put a name for my sermon, it's Jairus's Dilemma. Okay, that's my title of my sermon. Now, who is Jairus? So the portion says Jairus is a synagogue leader. Okay, so from what I've read, a synagogue leader is a communal leader. Okay, synagogue is for a community, small area, and so this is somewhere around Galilee. Okay, so it's quite multicultural comparing to Judea, where Jerusalem is around. Here you have a lot of other peoples. Uh, he is socially well known, culturally very prominent because he controls the synagogue, and he is also religiously powerful. He has the authority to who the scribes who come in, the rabbis, and he is an administrative, um, you can call a manager kind of a person. Okay, now this person is in big trouble because his daughter is very, very sick. Now that itself is a big story to tell. Jesus is a controversial figure by now, and he is prominent, but he is desperate for his daughter. He goes, and he goes in faith. Okay, so nobody will risk what they have without a shred of faith. Okay, they will not get up one morning and say, okay, today I should try Jesus. No, they had faith. He had faith, and he goes, and he goes, and he goes and falls at Jesus, and he begs. And the words he uses is, my daughter is at death's door, come lay your hand. All he wanted was Jesus to lay his hands, and he knew Jesus would heal her. He had that faith. All good till now. My thought starts from here. So they start walking with Jesus now. So Jairus, maybe people around him, they start walking and they're with Jesus. This is where things turn, what is not there in his head, it goes out of his control. A woman comes who's bleeding, and she, has supernatural faith. You know, here Jairus wants to lay hands. She is going and wants to lay her hands. She is what do you say? Uh, a person who creates trend, and I will show you that trend later in the gospel. Now, in today's world, let's think from Jairus's perspective. He's the one who started the journey. He is the one who went to Jesus. He's the one who's bringing Jesus. Now, because of all this commotion, there is a delay. Now, the woman gets healing, and people from his house come and tell him, your daughter is dead. He would have thought in his hand, the healing that I went for is robbed out of my hands. That's my understanding, okay? That might have been in his head. And he started in a faith that Jesus will heal. Now, what am I going to do? She's dead. When we start our journey, Christian journey, we have some things in our mind. Everybody wants something from God. I have still now met nobody who has said, Lord, I didn't want anything from God. I just followed you, just for the sake of it. Everybody wanted something from God. And God knows that. And Jairus is stuck. This is his dilemma, what to do. Somebody has stolen his healing that he was looking for. Death is in his house. And this is where, the word says Jesus overheard them speaking. So I thought, in my heart that, when you read casually, They might have come and told Jairus in secret, and Jesus might have heard it, overheard. But when I went to the original text, the word overheard has another meaning. It means to listen to something and not give value to overriding that. It's like when Jesus heard this and he said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's where Jesus says, believe. You know, Jairus went for healing. Now he's going to have resurrection in his house. That is what he wanted to believe. Now, a very unique thing about Jairus' name. The name Jairus, in its meaning, it means he who is enlightened. Enlightened. Or God who enlightens. Both are true here. He had a perspective that God, Jesus will heal. And that is true. But now he is enlightened. Jesus can resurrect. In our life, we start with something in our mind, in our journey of faith, a journey of marriage, our journey of job, mission, everything. And in between, for an example, you might be the one who brought the gospel in your family. You might have tried the best, but when you see others follow Jesus and they are doing, things better than you, they are praying and they are getting things from God, don't worry. What Jesus says, believe. That means look into my eyes and walk with me. Walk with me. Believe me. Now that's where Jairus walks. Now remember what he said? My daughter is at death's door. Now his daughter has passed through the door. Metaphorical language, okay? She is past the door. The door is shut. There's commotions. But now Jairus sees Jesus going into the room. He stretches out his hand. He's not just stretching to the girl, but he's stretching into death itself. He opens the door. Taken metaphorically, literally, whatever it is, she came out of death. Jairus, who went for healing, got life. Things turned around for him. Your life might not be in a place where we think it is. Keep your eyes on Jesus. He is capable of turning simple things into the most astonishing things. Because He is Lord over healing, He is Lord over death. He has the capacity to lay hands to heal. He has a capacity, if you touch Him, you get healed too. Ceremonially, at these both places, because the woman touched Him, he should have been unclean. But it is she who became clean. Ceremonially, if he touched that dead body, he should have been unclean. But no, she came out of death. He's the one who cleans. So Jairus' dilemma. We too go through the same things. We don't know. But keep your focus on God. Believe. And when God says believe, God is not saying you don't have faith, but it's time to upgrade your faith. Sometimes you went to the showroom for a Honda, but you came out with a Bentley. It's kind of a situation, but there's no comparison here. This is much more about that. You might have went into your Christian faith expecting something small, but you will come out. But take risk for God. Trust in Him. It's not just with your material things. In ministry, you might think that, oh, I don't have anything to give to God. No. Look at Him. Walk with Him. Don't let your gaze around Don't listen to anybody else. When you hear a story, usually, if you hear the story, I like to put myself into these characters. Usually I think, okay, I might be like Jesus, I can go help people. But sometimes I think I might be like Jairus, I have faith. But usually we tend to be people like the people who came and spoke to Jairus. We are the people who come and destroy others' faith. Some people might be out there with faith and we come and actually destroy their faith. And sometimes we'll be like that dead daughter. Can't do anything. We are waiting for others to come and help us. But God is okay with anything to work with. He can work with anything. He can correct you. He can encourage you. He can empower you. He can do anything. But keep your focus on God. Okay? God bless you with this word. And God will help you through this week. Let God guide you.